Alright, so we're back, of course, to talk about some Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and we're finally discussing this, I guess, popular fan theory right now that there's going to be like an evil Cloud in Rebirth that we fight, like a final boss or something like that. I've been kind of wanting to talk about it, but it's also been kind of putting it off because it's kind of it's a weird topic. I'm going to be honest with you guys, because we're going into Rebirth as of right now. Like, we don't know shit about Rebirth, right? We have all the theories we've been talking about for like 2+ years now when it comes to Remake. But obviously going into the game of Rebirth, outside the devs saying that it's going to follow a similar trajectory of the original FF7, we don't really know shit about what's going to take place in the game. People are already calling the final boss, and to me that is just kind of ridiculous. I want to say that Max and the Easy Allies talked about this like a month or two ago, whatever. They mentioned an evil Cloud in that video, but they also were like talking about the potential final boss for like Zack and like Zack's alt timeline type shit, and it potentially be in Genesis once he gets to North Crater. It's like, dude, what are people basing this stuff off of? Like, this is pure, I mean, reaching up inside your own asshole and pulling out theories, because there's nothing to insinuate that these things are going to happen. In terms of the evil Cloud, I've heard at least a couple of different ideas for this. One of them being like the alternate timeline Cloud, the one that Zack is carrying to Midgar, can maybe end up being like a final boss. I don't know what that's based off of, but I've heard that. The other one I've heard more recently is, instead of the alternate timeline Cloud being like the bad guy, it's actually our Cloud, and like his mind breaks at North Crater, because that's where a lot of people think that Rebirth is going to end. But I'm kind of confused why people think that, or what that's also based off of. Things when it comes to the North Crater segment in the original FF7, for one, there's manipulation by Sephiroth/Jenova, of course, but also Cloud doesn't know his true identity, his true past yet. The Midil segment has not happened in OG FF7, but as I've been saying for a while now with Remake, but also the Rebirth trailer seems to confirm, Cloud's going to learn the truth sooner. For one, there's a constant teases, so to speak, throughout Remake, where like Hojo tries to tell Cloud that he wasn't a member of Soldier. You have Aerith straight up saying Zack's name, but obviously Cloud blinks it out. And then at the end, on the highway scene, whenever what is portrayed as a vision shown to either our group, or maybe just Cloud and Aerith, or maybe just Aerith, it seems like they're shown Zack. And then you have the Rebirth trailer, at least the Japanese version of the trailer, where Cloud straight up says Zack's name. And if you go back to what we just looked at previously, in Remake, Cloud couldn't even hear Zack's name without getting one of his headaches.
What's his name? I probably know him.
Are you okay?
5年前、俺たちは一緒にここに来たのか。ザックス、どこにいるんだ?
And that piece of dialogue is most likely taking place during the Nibelheim section of the FF7 story, because he says we were here together 5 years ago, so that makes the most sense. So at least during the Nibelheim segment, if not sooner, Cloud's going to learn the truth of who Zack was and remember Zack and all the things that happened between them. So he's not going to be stepping into the North Crater in Rebirth as the broken Cloud that he was in the original FF7. During this moment in the original FF7, in the North Crater, Cloud thinks he's a failed experiment. He's literally begging Hojo to give him a number. But the thing is, this is before the Midil stuff again. This is before Cloud learns his truth. The Midil segment is Cloud remembering the truth of his past, but also the main thing is remembering who the fuck Zack was. But again, Rebirth trailer, he's name-dropping Zack, potentially what seems like in Nibelheim, which takes place long before the North Crater stuff. In fact, Cloud remembering who Zack was, and that Zack was a part of the Nibelheim incident, all that other shit, was like the final part of the Midil livestream stuff. That's right before Cloud and Tifa come out of the livestream. So it shows you how important it is for Cloud to remember Zack. The fact that he's already known who Zack is long before they go to the North Crater in Rebirth, presumably in Nibelheim, like, he's not going to be stepping into the North Crater as the broken Cloud who thinks he's a failed experiment. That just doesn't make any sense. Now, to play a bit of devil's advocate, because I don't like to just have discussions from one perspective, there is still the manipulation factor of Sephiroth controlling Cloud and making him do stuff, so that is a possibility that could happen, since we're also going to be in North Crater in like direct vicinity of the actual Sephiroth, or at least this version of Sephiroth, because one of the Sephiroths we encounter, I think, at the end of the game and throughout Remake, is the actual real Sephiroth, so that's actually Sephiroth, but there's also should be a Sephiroth in North Crater that's cut in half and shit. I don't know. Regardless, we're going to be near Sephiroth, so it's possible that he could control Cloud and make him be evil and fight us and attack us. That is a possibility. Now, that being said, we have actually already seen Cloud deny Sephiroth, at least during the Edge of Creation, but this is still early in the retelling of the FF7 story, right? So maybe as the journey continues, it gets harder and harder for Cloud to deny Sephiroth's like offer, and maybe the culmination is the North Crater where he just can't deny him anymore, and Sephiroth controls him, maybe makes him attack the party. Now, I want to be clear here, I'm not against this idea. Like, the whole point of this like discussion is that I just don't think there's any evidence right now. Maybe we get the next trailer for Rebirth and there's little hints and teases and Easter eggs that point in this direction, and then we can have that discussion. But right now, there's not a single goddamn thing that's saying evil Cloud, final boss. Like, there's nothing to that. Now, do I want that? Sure, that'd be pretty goddamn cool if like we control Cloud all throughout, Remake and the Rebirth story, and then we get to the end of the Rebirth story and we lose control of him. We can't use him anymore. We're forced to use the rest of the party. We got to put down the main character so far. And honestly, it'd be pretty damn cool, and it'd be somewhat unique, at least as far as I'm aware, because I can't think of many like RPGs or stories where you're the main character for multiple games, and then at one point you lose control of that character, and you got to use every other party member to put that character down. Like that seems like a pretty unique concept, so I wouldn't be against it. And the possibility of also Zack being there, so maybe that could be like your Cloud replacement. I've heard it theorized that Zack would maybe meet us at the North Crater or something in this timeline. And like that would be like you could maybe use Zack, or maybe Zack's like an uncontrollable party member, but that'd be like your Cloud replacement since they would fight very, very similar. One of the other kind of weirder issues with this discussion or idea is that it would be taking place after Cloud gives over the black materia to Sephiroth, right? Then we have a fight with the evil Cloud being controlled by Sephiroth. The thing there, though, is at least based on the original FF7, that whenever Cloud hands over the black materia, the entire goddamn cave floods and we gotta flee. So I don't know how or where there'd be time for a boss fight. Now, clearly, this scene can be different when it comes to Remake. It doesn't have to be shot for shot. The cave doesn't have to flood with whatever this is. What is this? Water? Mako? I'm not entirely sure what this is supposed to be, but the cave, this doesn't have to happen, right? It can be something entirely different. But the point is, like, at least based on the original FF7, which is all we would have to go off right now, we don't know how they're going to do it with Rebirth. I don't know where there'd be a time for a boss fight. And also, after the North Crater shit is whenever we're supposed to lose track of Cloud, our group is captured by Shinra, we find Cloud, rebuild his memories, all that other shit. But again, that doesn't seem necessary, as we already discussed. But also, I'm not saying that the live stream Medeos segment's not going to happen, because it's maybe the most important moment of the original FF7, at least a lot of the devs think so. It's the kind of the culmination of the entire story. That can happen kind of anywhere, right? Cloud can learn the truth, again, possibly Nibelheim with Zack and everything like that, and they can rebuild his mind there. It can happen kind of anywhere. All they have to do is fall into the fucking live stream with Cloud's broken mind. In fact, every single Mako reactor has a direct connection to the live stream, kind of like the one in Mount Nibel. That's actually how Sephiroth ended up in the North Crater. And hell, since we're here, let's talk about it. I mean, I'm giving people shit about guessing the final boss, but if we're going to discuss it, let's discuss it right here, right now in the Northern Cave. For one, we have the actual, real, cut-in-half Sephiroth floating above us, who now has the black materia. We also have probably Jenova somewhere around the corner, or at least a Jenova specimen somewhere around the corner. We have the leaders of Shinra also around our group, and also gigantic goddamn planet monsters surrounding us. So there's plenty of options for what could be a final boss potentially, on top of something brand new, because nobody would have guessed the final boss of Remake prior to the game coming out. So it could be something brand new entirely. So I don't know where this idea of, Cloud, like people are like definitively 100% we're fighting Cloud at the end of Rebirth. Like, why wouldn't we fight just a goddamn weapon monster? Especially considering that fighting the weapon enemies is going to be a big part of the story going forward into the third game, right? They're going to be traveling around the planet destroying shit. So why wouldn't they end the game with kind of a tease or a cliffhanger for what to expect going forward? Like fighting a gigantic monster like we did at the end of Remake. Evil Cloud would be a cool fight, do not get me wrong. Also, in some ways, kind of underwhelming. We've already fought God. Sure, thematically and from like a storytelling perspective, fighting a manipulated evil Cloud from the Sephiroth is controlling or whatever is better than obviously the Whisper Harbinger. The Whisper Harbinger kind of came out of nowhere. But the point is, we fought the physical embodiment of destiny, the fucking guy that keeps the goddamn planet in line. So they kind of got to one up that as the games go on each time, right? They got to get bigger and better by the end of each game. And I just don't know if like fighting Cloud is that. Also, hopping back to the idea of the alternate timeline Cloud, like people are kind of ignoring the bigger picture there because they're just focusing on maybe there being an alternate timeline Cloud that maybe impacts the story. But there should be alternate versions of at least the party that was in the Singularity, right? We're in the Singularity, so we're unaffected by the changes that happen to this timeline. But when we come out of the Singularity, there should be at least another Tifa, Barrett, Aerith, and Red 13. There doesn't need to be another Yuffie, Sid, or Vincent, or Kate Sith, or Reeve, or anything like that, right? That doesn't have to happen, because they weren't in the Singularity at the time. But what up with those characters? Like, that's got to be some sort of payoff with that, right? We've definitely 100% seen another Cloud that, Zack has taken to Midgar. Something has to have happened with that Cloud. That Cloud's got to pop up at some point. Now, that could be the evil Cloud that people talked about. That is a possibility. That Cloud is different from our Remake Cloud and original FF7 Cloud. Maybe because his mind didn't break, he can, for some reason, get manipulated by Sephiroth and or Jenova and become an evil Cloud. That is a possibility. And that'd be kind of cool, too. But there, again, should also be alternate versions of some of our other characters. At the very least, you can't even ignore the alternate Cloud. Like, there's got to be something to that. Zack took that Cloud somewhere. We can't just pretend like there's not another fucking Cloud floating around in Gaia. Like, so what is the point? There's a purpose. There's got to be something. He's got to do something, have some sort of impact on the story. It's just a matter of what. Now, some people have theorized that this alternate timeline, like Aerith's dead. That's why people were like crying in the church. But as popular of a theory as that is, it's like, again, that's based off of nothing. Outside of people crying in the Sector 5 church, there's not a single piece of evidence that supports Aerith being dead, but a lot of people think that that's canon. So maybe there isn't alternate versions of those characters. Maybe something happened to them. Maybe all the other alternate versions outside of this Cloud that Zack is carrying have died for some reason. But what is that based on? We're just pulling. We're, again, reaching up our assholes, guys. Because what is this based off of? Look, my dudes, as much as the next person, I love to discuss theories and speculate on what might happen in the future when it comes to the remake project, but also like to come at it from a position of like having prior knowledge. Like, at least give me a fucking trailer that gives us some sort of info where we can kind of maybe break down or speculate what's going to happen. I just feel like right now there's just not enough info to really even garner much of the story outside of the FF7 story beats that we can expect. Like, it's hard to even, how can we even speculate on what's going to happen that's new? Like, if you look at the Rebirth trailer that we have right now, like, if you already know the FF7 story, that trailer didn't really give us anything. Outside of Cloud saying Zack's name way earlier than he should, potentially in Nibelheim, like, there's nothing to really new to, like, break down or talk about or speculate on what's going to happen in the future of Rebirth, because all of it's shit that's already known if you know the FF7 story. Look, my dudes, I don't know how much more I can add to this video. It's already way longer than I wanted it to be, but I'm not writing off the idea of an evil Cloud. Like, that is, of course, a possibility. I never tried to tell you guys anything definitively unless we have definitive information. I'm not trying to tell you guys that I'm right. I'm just trying to give you my thoughts on this. And as of right now, I just don't see what there is to support an evil Cloud fight. But maybe it can happen. I guess Sephiroth could control him. That is a possibility. Or Genova, whoever, whatever, both of them. Sure, that can happen. But as of right now, we just don't have proof of that. So I don't know why people are saying it's gonna happen. It's part of why I am looking forward to like the upcoming trailers for Rebirth. And we should be getting those within the next, I don't know, half a year or so, since the game's supposed to come out in winter of next year. So usually about a year or so before then, they're going to start really showing us stuff for the game. And they're going to spoil some shit, because they did that with Remake. I mean, goddamn, one of the Remake trailers, I don't remember if it was the theme song trailer or like the final trailer for the game, they showed the scene of Sephiroth fucking stabbing Barrett. Like, why the fuck would you show that in a trailer? You know how much better that scene would have been if we didn't know it was coming? So they're definitely going to spoil shit when it comes to the Rebirth trailers. And actually seeing the Zack scene in the background, they also teased Zack in one of the trailers too. We seen like the fucking bottom of the Buster Sword that is turned at a different angle, the way that Zack wears it on his back. So we knew Zack was going to be a part of the game. Like, they spoiled too much shit. So it's going to happen with Rebirth. So once we get some more trailers, we can actually like break them down and look at them. We can actually theorize what the hell's going to happen in the next game. That's the video, my dudes. Pass it off to you guys. I'm sure you've seen this idea or theory now. What are your thoughts on an evil Cloud being the final boss of FF7 Rebirth? Either way, that's the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Give a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are interested in more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth content. Turn on notifications. Follow me on Twitter, @YT. I'm a Discord. Links in the description. And in the outro. Later, guys.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more. And nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Logain, or leave it like Cobain.